most amount of houses you bought at one time? And didn't you tell me you bought like a shitload of houses at once, like a couple hundred?
Well, I sold one guy like 56 houses, I think, in 90 days, just buy and sell in the same day. But, we bought 18-unit buildings. We've bought beaches on the water, properties on the water. You name it, I bought it. The thing is, like, when you say what's the most I bought at one time, obviously, I think, we could buy 50. I think we bought 36 houses from one guy in a deal. The way you structure it, owner finance. So you always want to pay cash because it's easier to acquire. But at the same time, you want to use owner finance. This way you could control the deal with the seller's money. You could manipulate the product using their money.
Yeah, that's another thing that you were telling me about. You don't use banks. We had a long discussion about that because there's a different. We were talking about another guy who I used to deal with. We won't mention his name, but he uses banks, and you were saying that why use banks?
Well, the thing with the banks are they want to lend money to people who don't need money or people who are desperate because the government backs FHA. So if you work at a fast food chain and you're making a tad above poverty, they're going to lend you money because it's almost they're forced. The Frank Dodd Act and all that.
Yeah.
So a guy who has money and who's going to sell the property immediately and they look at your track record, they don't want to lend you money because they can't see the profit in it for them. The only way they're going to lend you money is if you leverage it and hold it for a certain amount of time as a rental asset.
Right.
And rentals are cool for certain people because it's like a fixed income, but I don't really care for the rental business.
No,
Even
you
though I've
don't
owned
like the
many
long-term
rentals. Well, let me put it to you like this. Let's say you buy a property for $100,000, use round numbers, and you rent it for $1,000 a month, you're bringing in $12,000 a year. By the time you pay your property manager, expenses for taxes, insurance, maintenance, you might net $8,000. So you're working on an 8 cap. That's good for an investment company because they're borrowing at 2%, so they're 400 times in their money. But for a guy like me who bought the house for $100,000, I could sell it for $120 in one day. So I can make $20,000. I can make 20% on my money in one day when I can make $8,000 in a year and deal with the headaches. Because most tenants, 90% of the time, is a headache.
But how do you find these buyers? So like when you say you find a house right now, you can go buy right now and sell it. Like, how do you know who you're going to sell it to? You just have like a Rolodex of people you know. You can just like, I know I can sell to this guy.
So, in my phone, I probably got a couple thousand people's numbers in my phone over the years. And I know who buys what in what area and what they're paying, how they're buying it. And, there's a high demand for the asset. You know what I mean? So it's going to sell immediately at the right price. Let's take the $100 bill example. For $98, you're going to have a line a mile long. For $101, you won't have one client. So you have to know the bottom line, the razor thin line, where to buy and where to sell at. That's where the money's made.
How do you?
So you I could look. You tell me Tampa, Florida, like in the city limits. I know most. I'd say 95% of the streets.
Okay.
I don't look at GPS. I already know what the house is worth before I get there.
Right.
Because everything is based on retail minus the expenditures minus your expenses. And most people want to make a certain amount of dollar amount, so you already know what they're going to pay before they buy it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
You don't really need money to make money in real estate. What you need in real estate is either A, a buyer, or B, a product. So, let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's pretend your mother has a house that she wants to sell, right? And it's worth $500,000 and it needs work. And I say, hey, how much you want for this house? Give me $300. So I say, look, I'm willing to pay $320. So anything under that $320, that's money you made. So if you get it for $200, you just made $120,000. Whatever I sell it for is irrelevant. Second, if I have a property and say, hey, look, I want to sell this for $250. Anything over that $250 is the money that you make. So that's why it's easy to make money without money in the real estate business. You just need to have somebody in your camp that can close.
You mean come up with hard money?
Come up with the cash to buy, because it's hard to make money with hard money. It's really not an option for me.
What do you mean it's hard to make money with hard money?
Well, hard money.
Oh, you mean is like doing like hard money loans?
Yeah, hard money lending. But but getting back to that point.
But what if I don't have money and I want to do that? What if I don't have the cash, the capital to do it?
And
then you got to do a hard money loan.
Like I was explaining previously in the conversation, I would try to get a loan from the seller.
Right. Okay.
Because if you get a loan with the seller, then you don't have to pay for appraisals. You don't have to pay points on the loan. You don't have to, beg daddy, who basically is the bank, to help you. I mean, you're going to be in a positive position instead of playing behind the 8 ball.
Right. But what if this? I mean, a lot of sellers, a lot of people who own single family homes, they don't have that kind of money.
Well, you want to target properties that are owned by the property owner that doesn't have any debt. Because remember, you make money on real estate by controlling the asset. Owning it is just a piece of paper, a deed. You get a HUD, you go to a title company, now you own the property.
Right.
But you're not going to own it that long. So if you could get a lease option, even if you could buy a house for $300,000, here's $5,000 down. I have a recorded option that I could assign to another buyer. So you could make money controlling that asset without physically owning that asset. Like I said, real estate is
now you're getting into options, which is more option. Can you explain, like, basic for dummies, what an option is?
Well, basically on a lease option is this. You own the house, right? And I make a lease to rent with the option to purchase it with the agreed time and the agreed price.
Okay.
So, and then what you put in the lease is, in the purchase contract, you have an assignable option to sell. So let's say you sell me your house for $200,000, and then my buddy wants to buy it for $225,000. So he just pays me the $25,000, and he takes over the purchase. This way, I made money with very little money out of my pocket. Because when you're first starting in the real estate game with limited capital, you need to acquire capital by any means necessary, bringing other people to the table, selling their properties for them, stuff like that.
Is it hard to find new deals to make money on, or are people just blowing up your phone all day, every day? I mean, are you on the computer, like, scouring websites for shit for sale?
No, I never use the computer. I
really?
Use my phone.
You never use a computer?
No, never. My only device I use is my telephone. And the reason being is because I have a lot of people in my camp that do certain things, and I call them and I say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm selling. This is what I got. So new construction is the flavor of the year. So it's like I hired engineers and I hire people to do the work while I own the asset. Then you hire a builder. Then you hire a property manager to manage the project manager. So then you're just paying the draws, or you're paying the city for permitting, or whatever it is. I try not to get too deep inside the game, because then people are going to want something from you. They're going to want to take your time. They're going to want to take your money. They're going to want to pick your brain. And at the same time, that's value. So I prefer to just have somebody on deck that they could just work through me and pay them. But at this current time, to buy property is very difficult, because the market is extremely hot and the assets are very rare.
Yeah, it's insane. It's been getting hotter and hotter over the past year.
Well, when you look at real estate, it's a fast pace, but it's really not. And you just have to use your mind. You have to take your mind in different avenues. It's like let me give you an example. New construction. You already know what you're getting into, because you already know what the product's worth before you even build it. If a house is selling for $300 a foot and you're building for $100 a foot, your profit's based on what you pay for the dirt minus your expenditures. And then at the same time, you're constantly looking for different avenues to make money. Like, I've used car lots. I mean, that's a dead business, but there's some money there. Anything that makes money and it doesn't swallow a lot of my time, that I could pawn off to one of my people in my camp, we'll figure it out. Because there's always some way, where, and when to make money. But in the real estate, I like real estate because everybody's your client. Your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your neighbor. Because everybody lives somewhere. Everybody, it's a necessity, a luxury. It's an avenue to just make a lot of money, especially in today's day and age, because the rental income is very high, and we're in a market that's growing and the interest rates are low.
What kind of real estate do you own?
Well, we own commercial real estate, trailer parks, single family homes, multiple family. But when I own them, to be honest with you, I did a bad job, because I don't like to own much. I like to buy and sell it immediately. I've probably bought a few thousand houses in Tampa alone. My thing is, get it under contract and call one of my members in my team to dump it immediately. 90% of the stuff I bought it in one day and sold it the same day. But the stuff
What?
I do, yeah.
That's insane.
Not really. Think about it logically. If you're buying $100 bills for 90, how fast can you sell them? So
Right.
Because everything has a dump price, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at an asset, you already know what it's worth based on the wholesale value. And if you're looking at the retail value, you're looking at it wrong. The money's made when you purchase it, not when you sell it. You only realize your profits as you sell. But now the game has changed because, we live here in Florida, Tampa, St. Pete area. So there's a lot of people moving here with no state tax. Everybody wants to be here. And the properties have gone way up due to the fact that people from up north, Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Boston, and in California, they're tired of dealing with the state taxes, dealing with a lot of liberalism. They just want to come here and get out of that.
Yeah.
And their houses are worth so much more than ours, so it's easier for them to purchase them.